Good evening. I'm Nisa Petrilli.
I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
And I'm Sean Roman.
And this is the Final Four and opening day edition of On the Sports Lines. It's an annual rite of spring. The weekend that ends the college basketball season is the same one that starts another for Major League Baseball. Tonight, we'll tell you what each of the Final Four teams needs to do to win the title, who or what will have the biggest impact on the 2016 season for the Mets and Yankees, which teams will surprise MLB this season, and more. As always, we want to hear from you. So email us at fanspeak@onthesportslines.com, send your tweets to @onthesportslines, and your posts to facebook.com/onthesportslines. And finally, there were four. The South and West regions ended up with chalk as the number one seeds faced the number two seeds, with the number twos, Oklahoma and Villanova, advancing, while the East and Midwest regions had their number one seeds playing a pair of bracket busters, with North Carolina and Syracuse advancing. We're going to make the championship case for each team. Sean, start us off. Make the case for Oklahoma.
The play of Buddy Hield has been absolutely sensational. College's brightest star has really been given the true chance to shine exceptionally bright in this tournament. Over the 4 games, these are his numbers: 27, 36, 17, 37 points. That averages out right around to 30 per game. This is the best performance over 4 games since Steph Curry in 2008 was with Davidson when he had 40, 30, 33, and 25. And Buddy also gets another game or possibly 2 to even better that. I mean, if you look at how he's been doing this year, 47% from three-point range. That is exceptional. That is,
Yes, it is.
916 points overall, tops in the country there as well. 146 threes over the course of the entire year. That is tremendous from a guy from the Bahamas who, when he was a young man, was cutting out the bottoms of baskets and posting them to poles. Absolutely exceptional. Best player in the land. That's why I think they're going to go all the way.
Well, for me, I'm going to go with Villanova. This is a team that, for the most part, everybody counted out because usually they're gone early in the tournament. But this year, Jay Wright may have his best team that he's ever had. And the reason I say that is because one word, chemistry. When you look at the team they have, it's not that they have a Buddy Hield or anybody that's super exceptional, but collectively, they are a really good team. When you look at Ryan Wright, Archie Diacono, thank you. That's a very tough name to say.
Yes.
And you also look at Patrick O'Shefu, the center,
Yeah, he's been a
center.
beast.
He's blocked shots, rebounded the heck out of the ball. And they have 2 very good guards also. Josh Hart, who's averaged 15.3 a game, and Chris Jenkins, who's shooting out of his mind, 13.6 a game, but he's hit some huge threes. But the other reason I have to go with them is their defense. They have held opponents to 63 points per game in the regular season, and they held Kansas to 59 points.
That's saying something.
Yeah, 20 points lower than what they normally average. So Villanova's the type of team that if they play as a team, as they've been doing, they have a very good shot at pulling this off.
They do. No surprise by you guys. I'm sticking with the North Carolina Tar Heels. This is the deepest, most talented team in the tournament. They're the number 2 overall seed for a reason, and they've made the Final Four a record 19th time. It breaks their own record.
Wow.
Their high-powered offense is averaging a 16-point per game margin of victory. And it starts in the paint where they've scored at least 30 points a game in every tournament, every game they've played, topping 40 twice. They're plus 38 in rebound margin, averaging almost 15 offensive rebounds. That translates into 19 second chance points per game. Bryce Johnson is the guy who starts it all for them. He's averaging almost 21 and almost 10, shooting 63% from the floor. They need to defend the perimeter because obviously opponents are going to attack. They're not going to be able to get into the paint against the Tar Heels with that massive front line, so they're going to look to put up from downtown. Indiana put up 31 three-point attempts, hit 13. They just happened to pick the night UNC went 11 for 20, so no advantage for them beyond the arc. Notre Dame went 9 for 18 from 3, but only 3 of 8 in the second half, when UNC went 16 of 20 from 2. Nothing there. Here's the difference, and it's something that I talked about at the outset. It's the reemergence of Marcus Page. Has found his jump shot.
Yes,
He's shooting 48% from threes, went 6 of 9 against Indiana from downtown. If he and Barry have to make shots, I said it from the outset, I'm sticking with this. Barry could stand to make a few more, but Page continues to play at what used to be his usual excellent level. This offense is even more dangerous, and I'm talking championship level dangerous.
Well, by default, I guess I have to go with Syracuse.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
They certainly have a challenging road ahead of them, being that they are the only 10 seed to ever make the Final Four, although there have been some 11s, but they are the only 10. So it'll be a challenge, but I think it can be done. Both Michael Benajay and Malachi Richardson stepped up for them in clutch situations. They've averaged 30 points per game between them. Syracuse is probably the best of the Final Four teams at getting rebounds. So they have that going for them. And Coach Jim Boeheim has been exceptional all throughout the tournament. His decision to switch to the full court press from their traditional zone put Gonzaga off guard in the final 3 minutes, and it threw Virginia off in the final 10 minutes of that game. And coming back from that 16-point deficit against Virginia, I feel like that really gave them the emotional fire that they needed, and it kind of made them believe, oh my God, we actually can do this. So if all these trends continue, they do have a shot.
It's going to be interesting because normally in the tournament, you have teams that don't match up against each other in the regular season.
Right.
These guys played each other in the regular season.
Yes, they
Oklahoma kicked the hell out of them.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
UNC played Syracuse twice, beat them both times. So Boeheim's 2-3 zone, which normally befuddles opponents who don't see them on a regular basis. You can watch film, but until you actually play it, you can't really figure it out. North Carolina's seen them twice this year. They know what they're getting into. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they attack it, and if Boeheim can come up with a different wrinkle that he hasn't showed them. But you know what? The guy's a Hall of Fame coach. He better have something up his sleeve, or they're going to be going home.
Yeah, that's right. He might.
Well, the guys made their championship game and winner predictions on the show 2 weeks ago, but with brackets getting busted, I think they'll have to make some revisions. Let's see. Sean, start us off. What are you changing your predictions to?
I do. I had Kansas going all the way. Next to Buddy Hield.
Did.
Next to Buddy Hield, I thought that Perry Ellis was the best player in the country, so that's why I went with them. So now I am going with Oklahoma under Buddy Hield. I think that ultimately they're going to win it all, and I think they are going to win it over your North Carolina Tar Heels, Jay.
Well, I had Kansas playing Michigan State. We all know what happened to Michigan State early on, and Kansas was eliminated. But I'm going to go with North Carolina versus Oklahoma. I think this is a really star-studded matchup. You've got Buddy Hield on one side with Oklahoma, and they may have the best guard tandem when you include Isaiah Cousins in the mix. Ryan Spangler's a very good power forward. And then, of course, North Carolina with their run-and-gun offense, and they can just score at will. Could be a really good game, probably a very high-scoring game if they face each other.
Who you got winning? You got Oklahoma. Who you got winning?
I'll go with North Carolina.
Okay. I'm still going Big 12 ACC. And 2 weeks ago, I picked Kansas versus UNC, and as I believe I said on this show, with a slight edge to my Tar Heels to win that.
You did.
I will go with you, Sean. I agree that I think Oklahoma is going to knock off Villanova. I still believe the Tar Heels are the best team left in the tournament, number 2 overall seed for a reason. They've proven they deserve that. And I think they're going to outlast another episode of the Buddy Hield show. He may drop 30, but I think they'll be able to manufacture enough offense to give Roy Williams his 3rd title at Chapel Hill. So UNC Oklahoma, the Heels were coming away with it.
Well, I missed the last show, so I didn't have a horrible prediction, but so I get to do a fresh one. But I'm going to go, although I just made the case for them, I just don't see Syracuse being able to get past the Tar Heels. So I'm going to go UNC, and I think Villanova can do it. I think they can beat Oklahoma. So UNC, Villanova, and I think Villanova's going to win it all. I'm going out on a limb there, I know, but I just...
She's the contrarian tonight, Sean, not you.
I wanted to change it up,
Interesting.
So, yeah, we'll see. The end of March Madness brings the beginning of another season of our national pastime. We're going to start our MLB preview with the National League champion Mets and take a lightning round look at who or what could have the greatest impact on their 2016 season. Steve, who or what needs to be the pleasant surprise that improves things for the Mets?
Well, as usual with any great team, your bullpen has to be the surprise, I think. And you look at the Met bullpen last year, Jeurys Familia really came from literally nowhere. He was the backup to Henry Mejia. We all remember what problems he's had. And this guy had 44 saves and 48 attempts last year and an ERA under 2 last year. Did he have some problems in the World Series? Yes. But that was his first year as a closer. He was tremendous last year. Then they acquired Antonio Bastardo, a pitcher I've always liked, a left-hander, 2 years, $12 million. He is filthy, throws a great slider, great fastball, and you add that to their bullpen, which was already pretty deep. These guys have a very good chance of really helping the Mets do something positive, and that's win the championship.
It's true.
I like
well,
that.
Jay, who or what can't be the crushing disappointment that derails things for the Mets?
Well, I give you two words, Yoenis Cespedes. I mean, who else's can it be? Mets fans jumped for joy when he re-upped with the Mets. Now he has to repeat his 2015 time with them across the entire 2016 season, or else that vaunted rotation of the Mets is going to be suing the offense for lack of run support. 57 games with the Mets. He put up a slash line of 287, 337, 604, 17 homers, 44 RBIs. You extrapolate that to a full season, that's 48 homers and 125 RBI. Probably not going to happen, but if he puts up a season that matches his career 162-game average of 271, 319, 486 with 30 homers and 103 RBI, the Mets offense should put up enough runs to give their pitching staff a cushion in most games. Now, those 57 games are going to put the pressure and expectation of an MVP caliber season on him from his first at-bat on opening day, and Steve's nodding because he knows it's true.
I certainly do.
Especially with the uncertainty of what they'll get from David Wright and the unpredictability of guys like Curtis Granderson or Lucas Duda. If Cespedes caves under the pressure and doesn't live up to those MVP expectations, the Mets offense is going to be a crushing disappointment and short-circuit their chances of getting back to a World Series.
Well, Sean, who or what is likely to be the comforting constant that the Mets can rely on all season?
Their starting rotation can go down in history as one of the greatest. You could match them up with the Braves in the 1990s with John Schmaltz, Greg Maddux.
Of the 70s.
I was also, Orioles of the 70s, or if you go back to the 50s, Cleveland actually had an extremely strong pitching staff under Bob Feller.
That's right.
We had a bunch of 20-game winners each year at that time. These guys are all 27 with Harvey and DeGrom, 23 with Syndergaard. Bartolo Colon raises their average age to about 30 apiece.
Yeah, he
That's
does.
funny with him
He does.
in the 5 spot again. And what I think they did so wisely last year is going with that 6-man rotation, so these guys weren't stretched at a young age more than they had to be. That's why I think they're going to be exceptionally effective this upcoming year, and I think Syndergaard's going to emerge as the ace.
I believe he will, too.
I think you're right, too. Well, let's cross the Whitestone Bridge and go from Queens to the Bronx and take a lightning round look at who or what could have the greatest impact on the 2016 season for the Yankees. Jay, who or what needs to be the pleasant surprise that improves things for the Yanks?
Jacoby Ellsbury, his health needs to be a pleasant surprise. With the middle of the Yankees order aging, the key to the Yankees scoring runs this year is going to be the top of the order getting on base and causing havoc with the running game. It starts with Jacoby Ellsbury in the leadoff slot, but in order for that to happen, he actually has to do something he's had trouble with his entire career: stay healthy. When he was able to play 145 to 150 plus games, get 600 plus playoff plate appearances, he's shown he can be an offensive force. The Yankees don't need him to put up a season like he had in 2011 with Boston, where in 158 games he put up a slash line of 321, 376, 552 with 32 homers, 105 RBIs, 39 steals, and finished second in the AL MVP voting. If he can stay healthy enough to duplicate just his first season with the Yankees in 2014, where he played 149 games, put up a line of 271, 328, 419, with 16 homers, 70 RBI, and 39 steals, not only would that be a pleasant surprise, but it's a type of season that can keep the Yankees in the wild card conversation, which would also be a pleasant surprise.
Yes, it would. Well, Sean, who or what can't be the crushing disappointment that derails things for the Yankees?
Their starting rotation.
Oh, yeah.
That is a huge question mark. You have CC Sabathia. He has essentially become the Bartolo Colon right now of the New York Yankees. I mean, this year his role is going to be basically to provide veteran type of leadership to some of the younger pitchers. Me and Steve Rabinowitz last year was so impressed with the start that Pineda got off to. He was absolutely dominant in the first few months, but look at how he wound up. 12-10, 4.37 ERA, and pretty much unable to stay healthy. Ivan Nova, right now he's essentially trade bait at 6-11, and last year with this 5.07 ERA. They're being led by Tanaka, who I expect a decent year from, but 10 or 15 wins would be a good season. What's everybody else going to do?
Right.
And what else are you going to go with? Severano, is he ready for his first full season? He's going to be the guy who's going to be expected to be what one of the 3 pitchers of the Mets already have.
Yes.
And that'll just be one of 3. The Yankees don't have 3 of those type of guys. That's why in the starting pitching department, they are lacking quite a bit. And that could turn out to be their crushing defeat of the 2016
Yes, sir.
season.
You're right.
Unfortunately, yes. Steve, who
Yeah.
or what is likely to be the comforting constant that the Yankees can rely on?
Well, the one thing the Yankees have as good as anybody short of Kansas City is an incredible bullpen. You think last year was good when they had Miller and Betances, and it was. Now you add Aroldis Chapman to the mix. This guy throws over 100 miles an hour with a great slider and a changeup to go with it. Yeah, he's under suspension until May 9th. We know that domestic scenario. And unfortunately for them, they lost Andrew Miller yesterday to a line drive off his right wrist, thank God not his left. So he will actually try to pitch through the injury. So they will at least have what
It
they
is his non-throwing hand.
Yes,
So.
and they're very lucky that it is, so they'll at least have the tandem of last year. But when they get Chapman back, that bullpen will be incredible. And I would say short of Kansas City, they have about as good a bullpen as anybody in the American League. Now, if their starters can get through 5 or 6 innings, then you've got something.
There you go.
Well, we're going to finish up our 2016 baseball preview with a look at 3 teams that could likely exceed expectations based on how they finished last year, and either make the leap from cellar dweller to competitor or from competitor to contender. Jay, which team do you feel is primed to make either one of those leaps?
The Texas Rangers, actually, to me, I think they're one team that's primed to make the leap to the next level. This is a team that was under 500 as late as August 13th and had a ridiculous final 6 weeks to actually come from behind, take the AL West title, get back to the division series for the first time since 2011, and just about everyone's back. Yeah, Yu Darvish is going to be out until late May, early June, but on the flip side, Cole Hamels will be there from day opening day. And while he may not have the same plus-level stuff when he was with the Phillies and beating up on Steve's Mets, he is still a frontline starter and knows how to be the ace of a staff. They should be able to hold it down until Darvish gets back. And when he does, they will have the type of 1-2 punch at the top of that rotation that they have not had. Now, they have plenty of help from a bullpen that went from the worst in the AL before the All-Star break to the 6th best after the All-Star break, and they still return Sam Dyson, Jake Diekman, and Keon Kayla, setting up closer Sean Tollison. The offense is going to provide plenty of run support for this pitching staff. Adrian Beltre is a future Hall of Famer at third base. Prince Fielder still wields a really potent bat, 23 homers and 98 RBI last year. You throw in Shin Soo Choo and Mitch Moreland, rounding out the middle of that batting order. You got 4 guys who should put up 25 and 85 this year. You add in guys like Delino DeShields and Elvis Andrews who can do some damage with the running game. And how about the great rookie year that Rougned Odori had at second base, 16 homers, 61 RBI. This is a team that is primed to make the leap back to the World Series contenders that they were 5 years ago.
Steve?
Well, I'm going with a team a lot of people don't think will get there, but I think with all the changes and improvements they made, I think they have a shot, and that's the Arizona Diamondbacks. You have to like what this team's done with their pitching staff to begin with. And you get a guy like Zach Greinke, who is the Cy Young runner-up, who is a phenomenal pitcher with excellent control, locates all of his pitches well, and still throws the ball by people at age 32. That's unbelievable. You add that to Shelby Miller, and he had a bad year win and loss-wise, 6-17, but his ERA was under 3 playing for the Braves, and the Braves were awful last year in the second half. So he'll be their number 2 starter. Now they're getting Patrick Corbin back, who was their ace, who was a 14-game winner 2 years ago. So you've got these 3 already in the rotation.
And you're sending him up against other teams' number 3s instead of their 1s.
That's right. And the 4th starter they have, Ruby De La Rosa, who very few people know about. He was 14-7 last year. So that 5-man rotation they have is going to be unbelievable. You add that to a guy named Paul Goldschmidt, who nobody ever talks about. This guy's perennial MVP candidate every year. And A.J. Pollock, who is quietly one of the best center fielders in the National League. And I think this team has a real good shot at possibly winning the division.
Sean?
I am going with the Cincinnati Reds to be somewhat competitive. I mean, I like picking a team that really can't do worse than they did with last year. With 98,
you nailed it right there, Sean.
with 98 losses. But I think it was just a few seasons ago, it may have been 2013, that they actually won the division. And they're still being led by Joey Votto at first base, who's an MVP candidate. And look at who else they have in the lineup. Billy Hamilton's going to be leading off. He is about 90% in terms of his stolen base ratio. He's going to be getting on and moving around quite a bit. Who else in the lineup do they have? Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce.
Still solid guys who can put up 20-plus homers.
Here's the key number, and I think Sports Illustrated pointed this out. 64. Last year, their young rookie starters had 64 starts, a major league record. With that type of experience and with nothing to lose last year, they are going to be markedly improved this year, and they may have this very strong core that takes a lot of people by surprise. They're young, nothing to lose. That's why I think they're going to go a long way. They're being led right now by Anthony DeSclafani. Last year, 9-13, but 4.05 ERA. For being on a bad team and so young, that's not horrible.
No.
Raciel Iglesias, 3-7, but again, 4.15, not horrible. His strikeouts per 9 innings is about a 10. That's absolutely incredible. Like I said, somewhat competitive. Not going for the division in the Central, but they're going to be better than people think. Brandon Finnegan's also in there. He was acquired in the Cueto trade. And then at the middle of the season, they're going to have their $100 million pitcher, Homer Bailey, back in the starting rotation. So everybody, take a second look at the Cincinnati Reds, because they're going to do a lot better than they did last year.
You know what? Another team to keep an eye on, guys, and I'm going to throw up a little bit as it tumbles out of my mouth. Don't sleep on the Boston Red Sox this year.
I agree.
Oh, since we have a little bit of time, can we get predictions from the NL and AL? Anybody want to start us off?
I'm going to go Rangers in the AL. I think they'll have enough. Out of the NL, it's so hard for me to pick against the Cubs this year, but all right, so I'll go with the Cubs.
That's cool. Well, I'm going to probably go with the Mets, and I know I'm biased doing it, but I'm going to go with them. I think they'll be a little bit better than the Cubs. The Cubs are very, very good. The American League, that's going to be a little bit harder to decide who I think can possibly do it. I think the Astros might have a shot at doing it. They look like
people are in that side.
They're about ready, I would say.
I like a rematch from last year. I think the Mets are going to deserve it, and they're going to be just a little bit better, and at least they'll get to 7 games against the Kansas City Royals.
Lisa?
All right.
I was going to say the Mets too, but I have no clue in the AL. I feel like it's anyone's for the taking.
All I'll throw out there is this, guys. It's an even-numbered year. Don't sleep on the Giants.
Yes,
That's a good final point.
That's a very good point.
Music means it's time for the 3-minute warning. Sean, lead us off.
I have been trying to make sense of the Adam LaRoche situation in Chicago, and it hasn't been easy. First, I admire some of what LaRoche stood for. He said that baseball is a unique occupation where adults are essentially playing a children's game, and those adults are very often traveling very far from their families for most of the year. So, really, think about it. What better place to bring a child of his son's age? Plus, he also realized that parents in all walks of life ultimately regret not spending time with their young children, and it doesn't go the other way around. But I'm also a simple bottom line person when it comes to earning capacity and diminishing opportunity. LaRoche is 36 years old. He batted .206 with 12 homers and 44 RBIs as a utility first baseman. He was slated to make, in the second year of a contract, $13 million for showing up to work this year. Leaving that amount of money on the table is absolutely bizarre because it's not happening again. Even if the White Sox limited his son's time in the clubhouse, the ability to be part of a Major League Baseball dynamic was vanishing for both father and son. LaRoche should have taken advantage of what they offered.
One of the best, Joe Garagiola. The cherubic face, the energetic smile, the positive comments, and his great enthusiasm describing plays with the ability to paint pictures in his own comical style. Friendly to a fault and a man with seemingly no enemies. And there you have it, Joe Garagiola. This man who grew up in St. Louis in the 30s, a close neighbor and friend of the iconic Yogi Berra. He caught for the St. Louis Cardinals, but his starring moments came on NBC's Game of the Week. He and Tony Kubek anchored many great 70s and 80s broadcasts. Before that, he actually did Yankees games with Phil Rizzuto. Wow, those Huckleberry sure had fun together. And in his latter days, he worked with the Diamondbacks front office. But he'll be remembered by this fan and many others for his wit and humor. Rest in peace, Joe. You'll be missed.
I have a bone to pick with Dan Shaughnessy of the Boston Globe and his comments about the UConn women's basketball team after their Sweet 16 victory. He took the whole haters gonna hate thing to a new level, tweeting, quote, UConn women beat Mississippi State 98-38 in NCAA tourney. Hate to punish them for being great, but they are killing women's game. Watch? No thanks. killing the game? Really? Really? Every sport has had dynasties and none has been killed by them. Baseball, the Yankees ruled almost every decade of the 20th century. Basketball, the Lakers and Celtics owned the NBA from the 60s to the 80s, and John Wooden's UCLA teams dominated men's college basketball in the 60s and 70s. Hockey, the Montreal Canadiens were the NHL's version of the Yankees. Those sports are doing just fine, thank you very much. Dynasties actually improve things. Without a Goliath, no one has the incentive to be David. And before UConn was UConn, they were that David, knocking off the Goliath that was Pat Summitt and Tennessee. Every other school has gone all in to improve their programs because of what's happening at UConn. Yes, UConn has been dominant, looking to four-peat, notch title number 10 since 2000, and extend a 73-game winning streak. But killing the game, TV ratings say otherwise. Hey, Dan, I don't see you hating on the dominance of the Golden State Warriors, or recall you writing that Tiger was bad for golf when he was winning every major. But Breanna Stewart and her mates are killing the women's game. Yeah, you'll keep telling yourself that, but the only one who'll be agreeing with you is the man in the mirror. Go Huskies!
I was pretty shocked a few weeks ago when I heard that quarterback Brock Osweiler was leaving the Denver Broncos for the Houston Texans. After Peyton Manning announced his retirement, I assumed it would be a no-brainer that Osweiler would stay on to lead the Super Bowl champs next season. His official statement was that he felt the Texans gave him the best opportunity to be successful. But come on! The Texans have never made it past the divisional round of the playoffs, while the Broncos, with that incredible defense, have a real shot at going back to the Super Bowl. According to some insiders, the real deal is that Osweiler felt slighted by the Broncos organization because he got benched in favor of Peyton in Week 17. Really? Cry me a river, Brock. It's completely understandable that Denver wanted to give Peyton a shot in Week 17 and in the playoffs, knowing it would probably be his last season. If the rumors are true, then Osweiler has shown his true character and is basically acting like a child. Look at Aaron Rodgers. He waited patiently behind Brett Favre for 3 years for his turn to be a starter. He never once complained or showed poor sportsmanship. And Osweiler couldn't handle waiting one postseason without getting upset and feeling snubbed. That's just ridiculous. Hey, Brock, good luck getting those Texans past the divisional round. For Jay Kaplan, Steve Ferguson, and Sean Roman, I'm Nisa Petrilli. Thanks for spending part of your evening with us. We'll see you on April 14th for another edition of On the Sports Lines. Remember, if you want to see this show again or catch up on any of the ones you might have missed, check us out at youtube.com/onthesportslines and check out our blog at onthesportslines.blogspot.com. Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.
Good night.